This is the Code, Deploy, Go Live podcast, episode 12 with Julie Turner and Andrew Connell. This episode is available as a video on our YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes. In this episode, we're covering a lot of news in the Microsoft 365 and Azure space. And fair warning, is pretty heavy on artificial intelligence, especially with the recent announcement of the OpenAI open source models and the new GPT-5 models. Recorded live August 8th, 2025. Good morning, Mrs. Turner. How are you today?
I am pretty good. I'm hanging in there. First day back from vacation. So I'm, a little sore, a little sunburnt, and things are good.
Awesome. Where'd you guys head off to?
We went to Burke, Vermont, the lovely Northeast Kingdom, as it's often colloquially referred to. We stayed at like an Airbnb type of place up near the Burke Mountain Hotel. And that area has also mountain bike and hiking and whatever trails, but there's trails called specifically the Kingdom Trails. In the wintertime, you can cross-country ski on them. In the summertime, it's for mountain biking. My husband loves to mountain bike, so we headed up there. I did some hiking. He did some mountain biking. We did some time on Lake Willoughby, which is a glacial lake. It's one of our favorite places. Did some kayaking, and jumping off rocks. So it was super fun. We had a really good time, but lots of physical activity, lots of delicious eating, but I'm exhausted.
I need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah, it was actually really good. Finally, my son is old enough that he doesn't make it work to be on vacation. So it was relaxing, but we like to be active. So yeah, I hiked to the top of Burke. That was fun.
Awesome. That's really good. That sounds like a lot of fun. Like
it was
activity,
it was great.
do, and just a lot of fun with the family. So was it just the three of you, or did you go with anybody else? Or
no, just the three of us. Just the three of us, and we had just had, just a great space. The Airbnb that we're in was right next to the Burke Hotel, so we got to use their facilities like the pool and whatever, and just had this great deck that had a view of Willoughby, and it was just awesome. It was just really relaxing and quiet and cool at night. Just super quiet. Love the quiet
at night. That's yeah. I'm not experiencing that at all right now in Florida.
Yeah, we got 50s at night. It was lovely.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. Good sleeping weather, as they say.
For our outside of the United States contingent, that's 50s Fahrenheit, not real units, I guess, what everyone else has. Yeah, I think we're even at around 10 or 11 o'clock, we're still not getting below 82, 83 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's, I'm starting to wonder a little bit if I can't even anymore. So this is the worst time of the year. This is this one, August and September, the worst time of year for Florida. But
yeah, at any rate, it's probably how people who do not like cold weather think of January, February in New England, right? It's really cold, whatever. I love it personally. That's when I'm at my happiest, but anyway, whatever. Well, it was nice and cold. The place did not have air conditioning, so we went into this with a little bit of trepidation, because if it's really hot during the day and only gets into the high 60s, low 70s at night, which it definitely happens in New England, it isn't cool enough to sleep. So we were a little I hope it's going to be cold, but the weather said it was going to be in the 50s, and it sure was, and it was fine.
Sweet. Well, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, it's not. Well, you'll get to experience the heat next week when this episode comes out. We'll both be in Atlanta for the TechCon 365 conference. So it'll be, I haven't double checked yet on how far the hotel is from the conference center. I know you have to walk outside. They're together. Oh, they're together.
No, I think they're together. That's what I read, that they're together. I don't think we have to even go outside, but we do have to go out to get to dinner. And I literally plan dinners. I'm we're not going to want to walk more than 2 or 3 blocks. So I planned the dinners so we didn't have to walk very far.
Yeah, I remembered it differently where the hotel is, but I'm in the conference center. But that's okay. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right.
I thought I read they were connected. I don't know why. So.
Well, if they're not connected, I will be grabbing one of the hand towels from the hotel and putting in my backpack so I can wipe the sweat down when I'm after the short walk to the conference center. But
I feel that.
Yeah. At any rate, yeah. So since we last got together, we're recording this on an off normal recording. We usually record on Mondays and release the following week, but we would normally be doing that while I'm doing a workshop at the TechCon conference. And then somehow over the next 2 days, we would both be scrambling to get the show out the door. So we're recording the Friday before we normally record. So this is, as I said earlier in our intro, August the 8th. This past week, I've been like frantic trying to get 3 things launched, 3 new offers launched for like training stuff I'm doing over the fourth quarter or third and fourth quarter. All of them are starting in September. I've got a brand new like 3-day virtual SharePoint framework workshop that I'm doing. I've got another instance of my Copilot, my building declarative agents for M365 Copilot 2-day virtual workshop in the middle of September. And then I've got my Teams app dev accelerator, like a 2-month-long cohort class that I'm doing. I want to get that one out the door too. That one's going to be fun because that's like all new content or all refresh content because of the changes in the tooling and the templates and new SDKs since the last time I taught it. So still refreshing a bunch of the content, but at the same time, getting all my stuff ready for my conference next week. So
I know. Fun times.
Be fun. But today, we are going to dive in and do a boatload of news. This is a dedicated news episode because, I mean, that was the original plan. And thankfully, the timing of us recording this is working out well because there's been a lot of big news this week. So I thought what we could do in this show is we'll run through, I guess, some rapid fire stuff for things that maybe not everybody is interested in, but there'll be a ton of links in the show notes, both in the notes here for the episode. You'll find them in the description below the video. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find it in your podcatcher. And if you subscribe to the newsletter, they will all be delivered straight to your inbox as well. So that's what we do for all of our shows. So Julie, you ready to kind of dive in and get going?
Let's do the news. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to start with some stuff from the Message Center. There are all the ones I have here. And again, there's lots of stuff in the Message Center, but we're focusing on the developer side. There are 4 things specifically around Microsoft 365 Copilot that I wanted to call out. First one is, and I'll read the numbers out if anybody's going to even pay attention to the numbers, but doing them in the same order we're covering stuff in the show notes. So this is the ID 1122.16.0. So it's around Copilot Chat, which is what we used to call Biz Chat, which we used to call something else as well. You can now set, if you're doing the pay-as-you-go billing, like the consumption or metered-based billing for your Copilot setup, you can now set budget limits on the pay-as-you-go billing through the admin center. That's rolling out. It's already started rolling out right now, and it should be finished. They say early August, so it should be finished really any day now. And it's all going to be done through the admin center. So if you were using those pay-as-you-go consumption plan, there was no upper limit. Now you can actually set an upper limit to it.
I think that's important. Good governance ad there.
Absolutely. The second one is ID 1122.153, and that is new tools are coming to the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat prompt box. So what they're doing is they're introducing some new tools. And they're going to allow you to act as like a lightweight entry point into some what they call high-value task-specific features and capabilities straight from the prompt box. So you'll be able to get a menu by clicking the Tools button inside of the dialog where you're submitting your prompt. You'll click this Tools button, and it'll give you a menu where you can discover things that you can add. So there'll be different things based on what your license is set up for. So that's going to give you easy access to things like the researcher, analyst pages, image generation, etc. That's rolling out right now. Started in early August. That will be worldwide general availability by sometime late August. Next one is an update, and it's around leveraging SharePoint agents or accessing SharePoint agents directly inside the Copilot app. So this is ID 1099692, and they've modified the timeline for this. This was already released. Basically, it's a way for us to access your most used SharePoint agents directly inside of Copilot without having to navigate back to the SharePoint site to go use your SharePoint agents. The change to this is that the timeline, they're going to start rolling this out in mid-September 2025. That's a delay from, it was supposed to roll out in July. So it's about a 2-month delay that's coming out. And my last message center update is around the metered APIs. So this is message center. So this has nothing to do actually with Copilot for once. This is 11.22.144. And what this is they've modified some of the metered APIs that we pay for Microsoft Graph. So there's a long list of a bunch of the different APIs that are affected by this, like Teams chat restrained, Teams channel retained, chat notification, change notifications, patch operations, meeting transcript, meeting recording. They're removing a lot of the metered piece to those. And I think a lot of that too is part of it is that it's going to be some of the things we're getting from like the Copilot APIs that are coming. Those are both licensed and metered endpoints, or they're intended to be metered endpoints eventually. So it seems like that's going to replace some of this stuff, like the transcripts and things. So yeah, they're actually removing some of that stuff. So that's rolling out. On October let me say this right. On August the 25th, there will be no more billing events for the APIs they have listed. So the link that I'm sharing goes to the Message Center entry, and there's a link inside the Message Center entry that will take you to the page in the Graph docs that tell you all of the stuff that they're chopping out. Okay, so that's the Message Center updates. Now I have a bunch of Microsoft 365 related things. So the first one is the Copilot Studio guys have done another one of their big roll-ups of all the updates that's new for July 2025. So they've got some new features around Copilot Studio. So advanced natural language understanding is going to be more native inside of Copilot Studio. You'll be able to extend models with synonyms and entity events, entity items to improve recognition and routing. You can also have custom agents can be enriched with insights from data from Fabric data Fabric data agents. So Fabric is Microsoft's big data platform. You could build agents in there, and now you can have those agents impact or be leveraged inside of Copilot Studio-based agents. And behind the scenes, this is all being done with that model context protocol, which is a easier way for an LLM to talk to another endpoint. Understand another endpoint, I guess I should say. You can also search now and jump to any element inside the agent. So it just makes it more of a easier navigation for people who are building and managing agents with Copilot Studio. You can have end-to-end data labeling for secure agent interactions. There's a bunch of admin center improvements. Like I said, managing the pay-as-you-go message capacities. You can manage every agent from a single interface inside of the admin interface. And you can also quarantine agents instantly via a Power Platform API. So if somebody's being bad, shut them down. There's a bunch of stuff around analytics.
Power Platform API?
I know. It sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
Like, wait, what?
It's just
a Power Platform API. That English? I don't know.
I hear it. I hear you on that one. That one was a little bit like, it's like a dog tilting its head, like,
yeah, right. Okay, sure.
Exactly, right. Okay, so that's some of the stuff that I had around, like with the Copilot Studio updates from July. Here's some other stuff that's coming straight from the Microsoft 365 developer blog. They have a new, and I got an opinion on this one, but they have a new MCP server that is for the Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit. So it allows you to do things like it's allowing you to be inside of VS Code. And if you're having trouble with something on one of your agents that you're working with the toolkit, or anything that you're doing with the toolkit, building a Teams app or building an Office add-in, you can now be able to chat with using GitHub Copilot and leveraging the MCP server for the toolkit. It essentially surfaces documentation inside of GitHub Copilot. I mean, it works, but to me, it just doesn't.
That's
I'd
like Inception.
It is to me, and it's also like, well, if it's in the docs and it already can read the docs, why can't it just go through and I ask a question? Yeah, read the docs. Let me just ask a question that way. So I don't know. I think this is one of those like, oh, you've got an MCP server. We should create one too. I'm like going, think about that for a second. Is this really necessary?
Yeah, it does. It feels like MCP server for the sake of saying you built an MCP server. There's an aspect of this, though, that you could say somebody wanted to practice building one, and this was a topic where they could, like, wrap their brains around it simply and make something. And then they're like, hey, this could be useful to people, and released it. That's sort of what it feels like more than like it feels like a user's. It feels like a tool searching for a user story.
That's kind of me as well. Like I saw this and I'm like, really? And I mean, I know I don't understand. I don't have perfect visibility into what the priorities are inside of Microsoft and everything, but I'm like, man, if I was assigning resources to work on something, I got a lot of stuff that the Agents Toolkit could be assigning resources to instead of this. But
yes, to not be pithy, that's exactly what I agree with. It's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with it. It just doesn't seem like the best use of resources.
Yeah. But hey,
maybe it was a learning tool. Who knows?
It could be a learning tool. Could be, well, I know. Hey, it's our show, so I'm going to armchair quarterback that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one that's big. I didn't actually, this was news to me. I thought that this was already the case, but apparently as of July 16th, custom engine agents are GA. I thought they were always GA. It was just a custom engine agent. It was basically a chatbot with AI, but
what? How does that need to go GA? Okay. All right. I'm missing it too. Okay. Well, that's good. Yay.
I mean, GA, I guess
maybe it just means it's supported. Maybe that just means like they won't look at you and go, you're trying to do something you weren't meant to do. Now they'll go, okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's kind
supported.
of like, we'll actually answer your call.
Right. That.
But I don't know, I'm being a little, I don't know, fishy with that. So whatever. Another one here, this is a relatively, I'm going to say it's a relatively small one because on the dev side, I don't really think it matters too much to devs, but you should be aware of this, that Copilot search is now like native. It's now GA, and there's an extension that you have with Copilot that you can now take advantage of this search, being able to pull in things from stuff like platforms that are outside of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So this extension, when it's installed, it allows you to easily bring to do stuff in the background, like pulling data from Jira Cloud, from Confluence, from ServiceNow tickets, etc. I wasn't clear that this didn't already exist. I thought the fact that we had those pre-built connectors inside the admin center.
I was just going to say, isn't the whole point of Copilot Studio being under the Power Platform umbrella is that it had access to all the connectors? So wouldn't
this isn't Copilot Studio. This is just Copilot. This is Microsoft 365 Copilot Search, which is like, instead of like 365 search, this is using Copilot to do search. And the extension is what is it's saying that it's going to be able to connect and pull data in from these other connectors that we've connected to our tenant. So like when you go into the admin center and you go to the Copilot admin center or the Copilot section of the Mac, and there's a connectors gallery and you can connect to all these different resources. I think it's like 60 or 70 of the existing out-of-the-box connectors that they give us.
Sure. Yeah.
All those sources like Jira, Confluence, ServiceNow, etc. If I add a connector from the gallery and I configure it, then it's available inside of Search, and I can even use it inside of
Graph Connector, right?
Yeah.
What used to be Graph Connectors now are Copilot connectors.
Correct.
Whatever
Yes.
they're calling it. Yes.
And
okay.
What I'm confused by with this one, I'm like, I thought that once I connected it, it was available to search. So
that's what I thought too. So now
I call it out there because
that was the whole point.
Even if so that's what I thought. But let's just say you and I thought wrong. Well, now you can.
We must have. Yeah, we must have thought wrong. I'm a little surprised by that. I thought, yeah, I completely thought that because search could pull those like graph connectors and they were like, this is the way. So they're all graph connectors. Like, even though they're like they look
Copilot
like first
connectors.
party things.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all those kinds of yeah. Well, I'm calling them graph connectors on purpose. So they were all graph connectors, right?
Yes.
And so before we had the Copilot thing, they were all graph connectors, even though they were sort of first party ones. You could create your own, but there was this set that you already had, and you could just turn them on and configure them. And then search would leverage those. That would be available. So when Copilot said, oh, graph connectors are the way for us to extend Copilot's reach into having access to this external data, and then they renamed them Copilot connectors, I don't understand where that would have like all of a sudden disconnected and then reconnected. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you on that. Like, to me, it's like, so what's new? Because I thought that this was all the case, and then you did a marketing branding change by just calling them Copilot connectors from graph connectors. The only thing that makes it really different from the ones that we build is that when you build a Copilot connector, if I built one of these, I would be responsible for hosting the service that's going to be finding what has changed on the data that I'm connected to on my side, and then when am I going to go through and push it and ingest it and replace an existing external item in my connector, or add a new one to get it indexed. The difference is with the ones that they've created is that they host that service and they have it running on their schedule, so that when you go look at the admin, you can see in the admin where it shows, hey, I'm connected and this is the last time I ran, when I'm going to run again. Yep. Because they know that. Where the ones that I create, they're like, we don't know what he's doing, but we know that he pushed data to us by this time, but we don't know when it's going to run again, because I define that.
Right.
So I define that in my code is what I mean. So, okay. Anyway, so regardless,
so that's confusing.
Whether you and I were right originally or wrong originally, we're all right now, because that's how it works.
Yeah.
So love moving fast, don't you? So the other one that we have here is a little bit about Copilot memory. This is an out of the box thing that we have in Copilot. So what this does is they say it allows Copilot to remember key facts about you, like your preferences, your working style, recurring topics, so it can personalize the responses and recommendations over time. So it really boils down to two main pieces. One is memory, where it picks up on its own important details from conversations, like I prefer TypeScript. I prefer Python for data science. I don't, because I don't do Python, but I want to learn it. But that's what I would probably use if I was doing data science, just what all the cool kids are doing. I'm working on this project, or stuff. I'm a developer. And it uses that in its responses to give more context and color about me when I prompt it. I also can give it custom instructions so that I always want it to behave the same way when I'm working with it. So, hey, I don't want you to be wordy. I want you to be concise. I want you to always be professional and direct. I don't want you to sit there and be chatty and all this kind. You're a machine. I don't need you to worry about offending me. Just give it to me straight. Don't give me the PC and massage it up. Some people may not like that. So you can have your own instructions that set that up. And basically, it's just adding stuff to the system prompt.
Does it say, because I haven't looked at it, but does it say whether this matters, whether you're in the web or work toggle of Copilot? Because obviously storing this data or having this memory must be a resource piece. So one would think you would have to be in the work tab or slider. Do you know what I'm getting at?
I do. I believe so. This is
although maybe not, because maybe even though you're in the web slider of the modes that Copilot could run in, maybe it knows your license, so it's going to use it either way, or you could target
So
it.
my understanding is this is a Microsoft 365 Copilot thing. So it will not matter on the personal side. It doesn't matter where you're using M365 Copilot. So whether you're using it in the if you're using it in the Teams app, or if you're using it from whatever office.com
like the browser
is today.
Piece, whatever. That's where you can slide it into modes, right?
Yeah.
Like you can be in web mode or in work mode.
Right. And I think the web mode is more like that's search and that's personal, whereas work mode is what you and I think of as like M365 Copilot, $30 per user per month, all you can eat. I believe it's the latter. It's just so this announcement is coming from the Microsoft 365 Copilot blog. In the article, they only reference it as Copilot, but because it's on the 365 blog, it is, to me, this is the licensed version, not the web version. You could do the web client, but not like the personal instance of Copilot.
Yeah. What I'm not exactly clear on, I guess I will say, is that you have that web and work mode. And if you don't have a license, if you're just a consumer, if my husband goes and uses the Edge browser, let's say, and you have the Copilot icon and you turn that on, you are in web mode and you're not paying for that. So you are the product, essentially, right? What I don't know is if you're logged into Edge and you have the work slider because you are licensed, whether or not the web one, which doesn't ground its answers with work data, which sometimes I specifically go to web mode when I'm literally only asking a question where I want external influenced answers. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I don't know, honestly, I'd love to know officially, if that is different experience because I am paying for a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, the all-you-can-eat $30 per month.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. I don't know the final answer to this. I believe it is not influenced by this because I believe this is tied just to your interaction with the work mode.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just sort of saying, like, sort of leading off of that, I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
If there's anyway.
One of the things that's cool about this is that I will tell you is that the article does go into an explanation of what Copilot will remember and not remember or pick up on its own. So, for example, if I explicitly say, I prefer Python for all data science tasks, it's going to remember that. But if I say, write Python code for k-means clustering, it's not going to remember that because it seems like that's an instruction. That's not that's not a thing for me. Now, what's kind of cool about this is that what you can do is to try this out, you can actually ask Copilot, hey, Copilot, ask me 5 or 10 questions about me to get to know me better. And so it'll give me a bunch of questions.
Cool. All
and
right.
then I can respond to those and it will retain that as part of the stuff that's updated because it'll even tell you, and it shows that the screenshot in the article, that it shows memory updated when you go through and you give it all of those answers. So that's pretty cool. It's going to be, it was generally available as of July. It's turned on by default, but users and tenant admins have different controls that they can use to control it. And admins can disable it across the organization for like specific users. And memory data is also discoverable through the Purview e-discovery stuff when needed. So it's a cool feature. Just think about it like this. If you're for the devs in there, think about it like this. This is a way for a user to always go through and put something of their own context in the system prompt that would be added in addition to whatever your agent is doing. Yeah. So
I will give you another interesting, just while we were chatting, I opened Copilot in the browser. So in Edge, put it in web mode, not work mode. And I asked it to ask me 5 questions to get me to know me better. And it said, I'd love to, Julie, blah, 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 and gave me 5 questions. So I won't do it now, but now I'm kind of interested to see what it'll say if I answer these questions. And anyway, whatever. So we'll see.
It is cool. I'm curious. Yeah. Okay, so that's all my M365 stuff. I got a handful of Azure AI stuff, and then I got 2 more categories that I want to run through.
Okay.
So I'm going to go kind of quick with this. So the first one is just like the Copilot Studio guys. I love it when these guys do this. The Azure AI Foundry guys, they've got their July What's New 2025 update here. So there's a bunch of stuff here. So And I've got some additional links. Well, you can go to that post. It's like the roll up to see everything. And there's a lot. There are also some additional links that I have in the show notes of things that I wanted to call out. So this big update that they're going over talks about the deep research agent is in public preview to help you automate complex multi-step web research with OpenAI's O3 deep research model. That's now available. They also have, that's available in the Azure AI Foundry agent service. They also have the GPT Image 1 model that adds input fidelity controls and partial image streaming for advanced image editing and generation. There's agent ops, red teaming, and tracing for some monitoring, evaluation, and compliance stuff. There is some stuff around pay-as-you-go compute, prompt shields goes generally available, the intra-agents ID. So now we can have specific intra-ID. I was going to call them applications, but they're not supposed to be called applications now. It's like a separate class of them that are just agents. So it's like I have all my apps in intra ID, and I also have agents. More Purview integration, scalable AI, a bunch of updates to the SDKs, docs for Python, .NET, Java, JavaScript APIs, and new guides for deep research and agent development. The thing that I love about the way that these guys do their update is they also, so in the different SDK updates, they actually call out what's been updated in the different SDKs. And when you dive a little bit deeper, they have a whole section of here's all the SDKs, or here's all the documentation updates with a deep link to the page itself that actually got updated. So cool. It's really cool what they've done with this. I'm a big fan for them doing this stuff.
Yeah, that's nice. I love that. Cool.
Another thing they've done is they have a browser automation tool that is in preview mode for the Azure AI Foundry agent service. So what this does is it enables developers to build agents that are capable of performing real-world browser tasks like searching, navigating, filling out forms, booking appointments, and more. What's really cool about this is this uses the Playwright workspaces and browser automation tools to be able to do this. I'm super interested in playing with this because I was just about to start building a project that was going to do a whole bunch of scraping of data out of an old platform I used to use for my company that doesn't give me access to my data except for a web interface. And so I was going to use Claude and Claude Code and Playwright to essentially automate walking through all those pages, clicking links, harvesting data out. Playwright's intended for testing, but I was going to use it for like a data scraping. And now with this, I'm like, well, maybe I should be trying this out, something brand new. I don't know. It's on my go back and look at this when you get back from the conference and see if this will save you some time.
Yeah, that might be really cool. Neat.
So there's also an update around building AI agents with the agent-to-agent.net SDK. That is a brand new SDK that allows agents to talk to other agents, which is kind of think of it as like a brother or a cousin to like MCP. MCP allows, so I get this question a bunch from people, why would I use an MCP versus an A-to-A, agent-to-agent? And think more that an A-to-A is when an agent wants to talk directly to another agent. So if I have like a travel agent is going to talk to a hotel agent and then like a planning agent and then a flight agent, it's going to be able to go through and do those things and talk back and forth and have like an inter-agent communication. So one serves as kind of like the orchestrator of the workflow. When an MCP makes sense is when you're teaching an LLM what it can do. And so that's where it can reach out and grab that stuff.
Yeah.
So, so that's what that one is available to us. Make sure I get all of my notes here because I have a couple more I want to run through. There are also agent MCP tools. So there's a quick start for tools development with the Azure AI Foundry SDK. This one's nice. There's a whole like repo that they've provided that you can clone and start playing around with this stuff. So it's like a hands-on solution for integrating MCP tools with your Azure AI Foundry SDK, allowing you to do things like access and deploy state-of-the-art models from Foundry. We're going to get to that in a minute. Using MCP tools to manage your context, knowledge bases, and evaluation pipelines, and rapidly prototype and scale agent solutions in a cloud native environment. I don't know when you'd want to do that when it's not cloud native, but whatever. And what was the other thing I was going to say here is, there's also support for MCP in preview mode with the Azure AI Foundry agent service. So that kind of ties into the last thing I just said. So this is a way for us to natively work with MCPs and Azure AI Foundry service. This is getting more to like a debate or a question that I have really for the Microsoft 365 guys, which I've asked them about this. They haven't really said it, but I'm like, hey guys, you've got the M365 Agents SDK. You've got the Teams AI Library V1 and now a V2 SDK/library. Why would I use these when the Azure AI Foundry guys have a whole agent SDK? It seems like you've got one that is very specific for 365. You've got one that is very specific for custom engine agents in 365 Copilot. But then you've got one that's a little bit more generic for all kinds of agents that can run anywhere. Why would I use one of the more specific ones when I can use the more...
Not to like derail this conversation, but it is one of my more frustrating aspects for me about the tools Microsoft provides for developing and how much they want to isolate the developer from actually knowing what they're doing. At least that's what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
And we had this conversation recently because I went backwards and I'm like, I need to, and we were just talking about the fact that I need to understand what's happening. I can't just use an SDK, figure out what the right endpoints are based on their docs and just use them and like blindly go forward without really understanding what they're doing. And so recently I like went into one of the Teams SDKs so I could reverse engineer how the auth was working so that I would understand exactly how the auth was working for building Teams apps, right? Because it was just making me mental. So now that I understand it, I'm like, oh my God, why would I use any of this stuff that's just extra bloat? I don't even need that library. This is so easy. This is like 3 lines of code and no endpoints, no special SDK needed, right? So using that example, that similar like issues, we've talked about it with SharePoint Framework, like they obfuscate stuff to the point that, you know, and they have reasons, whatever, let's not go there, but, you know, they obfuscate stuff. The Teams toolkit, now the Microsoft Agents toolkit does similar things where, yes, it's great. There's a template that makes sense. It's configurable, but there is so much there that you have to sort of detangle if you want to really know what you're doing. And it's fine if everything goes right, but as soon as something goes wrong, it is so much harder to detangle code you haven't written. It's exactly the would you rather, as a developer, write something from scratch or go take a big, huge piece of code that somebody else wrote and fix it? Like, what would you rather do? And I don't know any developer. Maybe there are some out there and they're like masochists and they love that crap, but I don't know any developer who would prefer to detangle somebody else's code versus writing it from scratch. Not that you don't want patterns and reusability. I'm not arguing. That is not what I'm trying to say. I'm just sort of saying.
I completely agree with everything you said. It's a frustration that I have as well with Microsoft. I think that there's a degree of what they do in their dev tools, especially these days compared to older days, where so much of it is done for you to make you productive that they do it at the expense of you understanding what's happening. And so when shit goes sideways, you don't know what to do, how to fix it. So like my great example for this is like when I teach building using single sign-on or setting single sign-up with Teams apps, if you choose the template, want to build a tab, want to use Fluent UI want to use React with Fluent UI,
that one,
it does it all for you. It does everything for you. But if shit goes sideways, you're like, well, wait a minute, I got to go create an intro ID app. Like, no, we already did that for you. I'm like, but the configuration isn't right, and I'm not getting this whole experience right here. And like, we took all that care for all that stuff for you. Like, but what did you do? And I find that when you understand how something works, you have a better even if it's doing it for you. If you're simplifying my life and going through something and doing it, fine. But it would be great if you could give me a little tour on actually what's happening behind the scenes. when I do that with my students and they're like, oh, now I get what's going on with single sign-on. I'm like going, guess what? It does it all for you. Before we had to do this ourselves, now it does it for you. And here in the project is where it's happening. And here in the Intra ID portal, when you look at your app, here's what it did. Here's how it did it. You can do that yourself when you roll this in production. Hey, demo's great. But when you actually roll into production, you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? That I agree with. It is a thing that Microsoft does. I think they do it at a disservice to developers. Hey, you know what though?
I think some want it that way. Some developers want the easy button. They do.
They do. I agree with you. They totally do, and they don't want it. They're like, well, I shouldn't have to go through all this stuff. By going, I want it that way too, but I want to understand what's going on. So when shit goes sideways, I know where to go to look for stuff and debug it. So, and
there's an aspect of if you let it be automated for too long, even if you originally knew, you don't know anymore. I have to point that out. And you and I have both know this, right? You do something let's say we build something with Hugo for a website. This is not what we do day in, day out. We are not Hugo web designers, but we both use it. So this is a context, right? And so we go build something and we're like, great, figured it out, got that all done. I totally know how that works. Super. 1 year later,
right?
How did we do that? What was that? And now you're debugging your own code, which sometimes is terrifying.
No, I completely agree. It is like, I like the way the the agent's toolkit does it, because it does make it kind of transparent on what they're doing.
You can look for sure.
You can look, and I would like for more documentation there. It's one of the reasons why I love like CI and CD, because once you have a deployment, like a build, a test, and a deployment all set up in your environment, like when I build my site and I roll it, it's going to go through all of that stuff every single time to roll that thing out and make sure everything works. And it feels reliable, it's consistent. I'm not going to miss any steps. If I ever go set up another site for someone, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't remember what I'm doing. That's okay. It's all fully documented in the CI and CD thing so that I can go back and I can implement myself. So I can see what it's doing. I can see what's being automated.
Yes.
It just doesn't need to be something like, it doesn't need to be in the back of my head all of the time.
100%.
But I want to access it like that though when I need it.
Exactly that. Because that YAML file that has that process for what it's going to do is eminently readable. You just go in and you look at it, you go, oh, I'm doing that, and then I'm doing that, and then I'm doing that. Okay, that totally makes sense. Where I start to get irritated is like, oh, hidden inside of some SDK that's precompiled in a node, dependency that I have to go find the source code somehow buried inside of like a multi-level repo, mono repo. Oh, okay, I found that thing. Oh, I found that. Oh. And you got to drill all the way down to understand what's happening. It's not like a clear set of instructions that you can, documentation that you can go, oh, okay, it's doing these things.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm 100% everywhere with you on this. That it's, yeah. It's, I do tell you, as I'm listening to you and I riff on about this, I think we just found one of our social clips that we want to use. For this.
Kidding.
Okay. So that's everything I want to talk about.
We'll see what Riverside has to say about that idea.
We'll see. Yeah. We use Riverside for recording the show, and it does have one of the nice things about AI. It does look at everything going, oh, look, here's a good spot for like a social clip that you could use. So hopefully it does a better job than it did last time in getting our audio keeping our audio in sync instead of it getting really bad. But anyway.
We digress. All right, on to the next section.
Okay, this one I'm going to go over kind of quick.
Maven.
Yeah, this is I'm really glad we did this episode today because yesterday and the day before were really big news days. So a couple things about this. I'm going to give you a little bit of color in this too. High level on, I think it was Wednesday, August the 6th. Yeah, Wednesday, August the 6th. OpenAI came out and said, hey, guess what? We have open models now, GPT OSS 120B and GPT OS 20B. They're open source models that we can use. We can leverage. We can get them through Hugging Face. We can leverage them inside of Azure AI Foundry. They're open source. You can understand how they were all built out. All right. Now, some of the stuff that I've read on the internet says that OpenAI has felt a lot of pressure from places like Meta and their Llama models, which are open source. and they had to do something. And frankly, they didn't want to get this. They didn't want this to get buried in the news, because the news that came out the next day, which we're going to go on in just a minute. But I'm adding something else here about in our show notes, an article by this guy that I found was really, really interesting. His name is Sam Godicke. What's that?
Sean.
Sean.
S-E-A-N?
Sorry. Yes. Sean.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, it's okay.
His name is Sean Godicke, and he calls this out, and he goes, these are really no better than the Phi models from Microsoft. The article is really interesting because so there's two ways you can train models today. You can crawl like tons of content that's out on the internet and let it go through and use that for training the model. Cool. The other option of doing this is to use a language model to generate synthetic content that you want to use to train a new model. And you can do it based on controlling what it's going to be trained on. So instead of it just saying, go crawl the internet, it's kind of a curated, here's the content that I want you to train on. So taking content, editing it, saying, just focus on this stuff right here. What he talks about in that article was this style of model training, which sounded great a while ago. What people are saying is it's not that great. It does great on the benchmark things when you're looking at which model is better than another model. But in practice, it has no real world context. And so in practice, it doesn't really come out as being better or even anywhere near as good as the more native training. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road on this. The guy that was in charge of the open source Phi models, or the models from Microsoft, the Phi models, the PHI models, the guy that was in charge of those, they used synthetic training data for building out those. He left Microsoft, he went to OpenAI, and he's the guy that's also behind these open source models at OpenAI. So his position is, number one, these models that are trained with synthetic data are not that good. They score well. They're great on the scoreboard, but in real world, not that great. Sounds like a team that wins a bunch of games, gets to the playoffs, and falls on its face.
No.
The other thing that's interesting about it, though, is he's like, these open source models from OpenAI, they're no better than the Phi models, because same guy, now it's one guy saying it. All right.
Yeah,
but
right.
I've seen other people kind of fawn over about it too. So
yeah. Yep.
That's one big thing that they had announced. But the really big thing that also impacts us on the 365 world is that OpenAI also announced GPT-5, which is the one that they've been working on, is solidly a year behind what everyone thought when it was. They never said when it was coming out, but everyone was expecting it last fall. It's finally out today, as of August the 7th. There's a video on YouTube that goes into it, talks about it, and what's different about it? It's bigger, it's better, it's faster, all this kind of stuff.
$6 billion man.
Pretty much, right? They do call out a few things with it. It's better for ChatGPT. It's better for developers. It's better for business. So it's really, really new in terms of what's better about this. There's some interesting stuff going on since it was announced yesterday. Like, I discount what he says to an extent, but like Elon is going through and saying like our stuff was better than the Grok model 4, I guess, was better than this 2 weeks ago. It still is not training itself. It's still getting training data. It still costs a fortune to go through and to train these things. He's also saying that, hey, I found it interesting that Elon made some comment about like OpenAI is going to totally devour Microsoft with the stuff that they're doing. Because if you haven't followed the news, people, there's a big fight going on with Microsoft and OpenAI. Microsoft is a huge investor in OpenAI. They have an exclusive license to a lot of their stuff. OpenAI wants to go be a for-profit company instead of it being a nonprofit as they are today. Microsoft has to buy in. They want it, and they're fighting a little bit about it. You can see that OpenAI is starting to pull like the nuclear option. They said, we're going to start to put some of our stuff on Google Cloud platform. They now release these open source models, which is going to free them from something from Microsoft. And it's like, there's a big fight going on here. Let's see what happens with this. I don't know. This is all interesting to play into. I don't understand really yet on the details about the models of GPT-5 and how it's better than all the other ones that are out there, or that the claim is. I'm just seeing enough FUD and enough like people like being big on the news and then being very critical of the news, but I don't know who's just trying to get the clicks on YouTube yet. So let's give this some time and see how it shakes out.
Sounds like a telenovela.
Right. But with all that being said, how does it affect us on the Microsoft side? The GPT-5 models, they're in Azure AI Foundry. You can use them in your apps today. They're also, you and I had this discussion about a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was on the show, but I know it was just you and I had it back behind the scenes. That didn't sound right. We don't do stuff behind the scenes. We had a conversation. That's all. That's what I meant.
Like, where are you going with that? But okay.
Microsoft has switched over Copilot, 365 Copilot is using GPT-5 as its foundational model. So it was using 4.0, now it's using GPT-5, and that's out and about and there today. And it will be moving to the public version of Copilot, the non-Microsoft 365 version of Copilot is also moving to that one as well soon, but today it's just the 365 version. And of course, Microsoft is doing the same thing, like it's better, it's bigger, it's faster, it's blah. It's like, okay, but how, like so we'll see. And then how does it stack up against the other ones? So we'll see. Okay. I got some general stuff here on the AI side. I thought this stuff was really cool. And this is one of the reasons I like doing these news things, because I think that a lot of people in the Microsoft world, they focus on the Microsoft news. They don't look at what else is going on in the world, and you're missing some really cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple things with this. First of all, GitHub has a pretty good post out about how you can automate your project that you have in GitHub with GitHub models, using them in actions. So think about, where's the scenario? Okay, so think about this. You have an action in your GitHub workflow that says analyze, it's called like analyze for a repro. And so what it does is it's going to use one of the Minstrel APIs that are hosted on GitHub, and you give it the following system prompt. And just imagine where this goes. So give given a bug report title and text for an application, return pass if there's enough information to reliably reproduce the issue, meaning the report clearly describes the steps to repro the problem, specifies the expected and actual behavior, and includes environment details such as browser and operating system. And if there's any of these elements are missing or unclear, return a brief description of what's missing and a friendly response to the author instead of pass. Consider the following title and body. How would you like that on the PnP.js library?
I wasn't going to say that out loud. I was going to just think it in my head, but sure.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, this is a great idea. Could I do this as like an agent that I have inside of my own like student community? Like, dude, context. I need more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is a great example of how you could take advantage of using AI and just kind of giving it as not replacing a human, but just like first level support.
All right. I'm gonna come down on the other side of this a little bit.
Bring it.
Losing our humanity. Yeah. I hate to I love the idea of AI automating tasks for us. You know what I mean? Like automating, man, I do not want to go through that JSON file and fix all the formatting to get it to be right. I want it to read all this documentation and help me tease out the pieces that I was looking for fast and give me a citation so I can go get to exactly what I need quickly. Like all of those types of things, AI, find me the highest rated restaurant in this new area that I've never been to before. Whatever. All of those I love. Where I constantly keep asking myself if it's the right use case is when we are automating human interactions that really keep us human. And keep us like understanding each other. Like, I mean, there's just I'm really digressing away from developer stuff, but there is so much research out there that talks about the fact that when we are together and we communicate together and we get to know each other, there's so much more understanding and connection and betterment. And so even though this sounds like way away from that, if somebody submits an issue for, let's use PMPJS, yes, I agree. It is frustrating as a maintainer when I have very little personal time to devote to it, that I have to go round and around with somebody about like them just giving me the basic information I need to help them. But at the same time, they're a human being and they're flawed. And I'm a human being and I'm flawed. And I should have empathy and try to interact with them and not throw AI at them. So I'm of two minds, because I hear the other side of that is I do have a very limited amount of time. And if AI could get them to where they need to be so then I can step in and have a human interaction with them, maybe that's worth that extra. I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I'm not coming down on one or the other. I'm just sort of throwing out my other side of this is I do not want to see us as a globe dehumanize each other to the point that we lose everything, because we're already losing so much. All right. I'm off that soapbox.
No, I'm glad you did that, because I don't disagree with anything you said. And I had this internal struggle with using it myself as well. And not a struggle. I have this internal debate. And I guess sometimes it's a struggle. My job is a content creator. Like, that's flat out. That's what I do. I teach, I create courses, I create sessions for conferences, I do webinars, I teach. And sure, there's people have shown like, here's how you can go through and have it generate all of your content for you. I'm like going, yeah, but then it's not me. So why don't people just do that and exclude me from it? But it's not so much of a threatened kind of a thing. That's also me going, would I want somebody to be doing that and like cannibalizing my business like that? What's the morality behind that? And then, like you said, it's a whole like, it's a reason why I'm trying to lean more into like doing live events, because people want the human connection. They don't want to just talk to a machine and get their answers all the time.
Or if they did, they just would.
Exactly. And to me, like, I look at something like this and when I saw it, I immediately asked myself the question. I'm like going, does it replace me? Like the me? Does it replace you're talking to Andrew, you're talking to Julie. And I look at him going like, okay, you know what? Where I fall in this like specific scenario, I looked at it and said, you know, I can see something like this doing a better job of writing the description of a PR and summarizing all the code changes that happened as me having as it taking a first draft at it. And then I want to look in and go and explain it. When I go through and when someone submits an issue or bug, like I had somebody recently saying, hey, I did this one thing in Graph Explorer and it gave me the answer I wanted, but when I'm doing it in SharePoint Framework, it doesn't work. Any ideas? And my first response, like my response back to that person was, can you give me some context? Did you get an error back? Did you get nothing back and you expected something? Was it a SharePoint Framework issue that you had, or is it you using the API yourself? Was there can you show me what the call looked like that actually left your machine and went to the graph so I could see what the difference was? Like it was some stuff like it was an initial thing. I'm like, I need context. Like, help me help you a little bit more. And for that, I saw this and going, okay, if I could train that, if I could get that prompt to say like, I need more information. This is a SharePoint Framework question. So initially I'm just like, look, right out of the gate. Are you making a call to a REST API? If you are, I want to see the raw request that you're making, not the SharePoint Framework code, but I want to see the raw request you're making and the raw response. And then I'd like to see the code that you wrote to actually make this work. If you're having an issue, I need to know what version of the SharePoint Framework you're using. What version of Node are you on? Because all of these things related to SharePoint Framework can impact something you're doing. And it's like the stock questions I'm going to ask everybody. I'm not adding any value to that as a me thing. It's just hey, look, here's your checklist. Before you post a question, this is the stuff, these are the rules of the road. I need this. So that's where I everything you said, like when I do something like this with AI, I'm always like, is it taking me out of it, or is it helping me do more focus on the more of the me side? And
I'm not sure we're at a point yet where people don't recognize when AI responded to them.
Wow,
I'm not saying we won't get there, but I'm just saying at this point, if you're used to getting responses from somebody, there's a tone, right? So unless you are a big enough, like Simon Sinek was talking about the fact, if you don't know him, he's a author and thought leader. And anyway, he was talking about the fact he has so much content out there. He was talking about the fact that he can ask AI to write an article in the style of him. And he's like, it does a pretty good job at this point because there's so much of his content out there that the LLMs have trained on that it knows how to write him. I don't think we're at a point, unless we specifically train up an agent, create an agent, specifically train it on our own content and say, write a response to this as Andrew Connell, that people aren't going to know that that AI generated thing is not Andrew Connell because it's not going to have your tone and your style and your whatever of how you respond. So not that all of that information that you asked for wasn't asked for politely or wasn't things that you needed and was a waste of your time. It is going to be obvious to the asker of the question that they got responded to by AI. Whether that is a subconscious response or whether it's a conscious response, I feel like many, many people will be turned off by that.
I agree. I do not disagree at all with that.
So that's all I guess I'm saying about it. And so that weakens the human connection and the trust.
Agreed. I totally agree with that.
That's all I'm thinking of.
It's, I really like that. Yeah. We referred to that back in another episode, that Simon Sinek discussion with, oh my God, I just forgot his name.
Diary CEO guy, Stephen something. Yeah.
It's a fantastic
Can't think of his last name. Yeah.
Okay. We could have a really long discussion on that one. That's okay. No, but that's a great, it's a great topic. I'd love to go into that at some point. But I also know that we've been doing our show for nearly an hour and I know you have a hard stop. And so I want to make sure we get to the rest of it. So
we should, let's finish up.
2 more final things I'm going to throw out there really quick. One from Bleeping Computer. Guess what? Google suffered a major data breach in an ongoing Salesforce data theft attacks. If this news hit somebody like Microsoft, this would be epic news. It's epic news on the Google side. Basically what happened is that one of Google's corporate Salesforce instances was impacted by a specific compromise thing. That instance was used to store contact info and related notes for small and medium businesses. And the analysis of that data that was retrieved by the threat actor, the data was retrieved by the threat actor during a very small window of time before they actually cut that stuff off. The data that he got or she got by the threat actor was confirmed to basic and largely publicly available business information, such as the names and contact details. Articles out there, you can go take a look at it. I found this as like going, ooh, that's not good. So throw it out there. I will also throw this other thing out there. The last thing I'll share with you is we've got like GitHub Copilot. There's a pro version where you can mention or assign it issues, and it can go through and try and riff on the issue, and then you can review the code that it did, and it can generate a PR and all this stuff. Cool. I've started playing a lot more with that same concept, but instead using Claude to do that stuff for me in my own, in my personal website. Really cool. It's great for like doing stuff that is basically grunt work for me. Go find everywhere instance of this, go replace it with this, go do this. It's good grunt work type stuff. And it's good taking a first stab at it. Like going, okay, I need to modify the code that you did here, but at least you saved me from doing some work that I wasn't adding any value to. Again, reference the previous conversation we just had. Google is now in the game as well. The Google Gemini has a CLI that can be leveraged in GitHub Actions as well, doing the exact same kind of stuff using the Google Gemini model. So now we got GitHub's doing one, Azure GitHub Copilot's doing one, Claude's CLI, Claude Code's CLI can do it as well. Gemini can do it as well. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Everybody's going to be able to be doing this kind of stuff. So I just want to say, hey, it's another option that's out there. It's one of those that I see most people think that GitHub Copilot is like the only game in town. It's like, there's other games in town that, you could take advantage of. So that's it. I promise. That's all my links today. tons of news. So, Julie, you got any comments about our news? Anything else that you want to share before we move on?
No, I think we covered it all.
And then some. Okay. So today, let's go move on and do our last segment of picks.
Cool.
Julie, do you have a pick for us today?
I do have one. So this is one from a couple of weeks ago. You guys know I'm all into cooking. This one's a little bit about history too. So a guy named Seamus Blackley, and I don't really know who he is particularly, but at any rate, he, for whatever he's famous for, connected with an Egyptologist and a microbiologist, and they went to Boston's Museum of Fine Arts in Harvard's Peabody Museum and attempted to collect 4,500-year-old yeast from ancient Egyptian pottery. And that the point that they're going to do is, in a controlled place, learn baking strategies for how they baked bread in ancient Egypt and recreate bread from how they used to do it, right? But he personally took some of the sample. It's not cleaned yet, so it could have modern bacteria in it, but they believe it has yeast from back that long ago. And he made a sourdough starter out of that yeast and baked bread with it, and using einkorn and barley that he milled fresh, and the yeast that was preserved in there. So using ancient grains is the point of that, and made a loaf of bread and said essentially that it was incredibly different from, if you're a bread person and you know bread intimately, he's like, it is so different than what you are expecting. It's like sweeter, it smells different, and apparently delicious. So it's just so interesting. What's also fun about it is some of the comments, like people being like, yes, I had ancient yeast necromancy on today's bingo card or whatever. Like, just some of the comments are fantastic, but it's just really cool. Like, just a really cool thing to do. And I guess they're going to now officially create these samples and, clean them so that it only has the right strain and all of the things. But just such a neat, cool thing.
That is really cool. That's really cool. Oh, I was going to check that out.
So that is my pick.
Thank you for sharing that. So my pick this week is kind of revisiting something I kind of riffed on a few minutes ago, maybe 30, 45 minutes ago, who knows. It is something called Context 7. What this is an MCP server for documentation. And when I say like for some documentation, I mean like over 31,000 documentation things.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah, I'd say holy shit. But here's the cool thing about this. All right. Remember earlier we talked about why did they build an MCP server for doing documentation with the Microsoft 365 agents toolkit?
Yep.
Here's what's cool about Context 7. Think of it as like a proxy. So what it does is that you can install the Context 7 MCP into GitHub, into Visual Studio Code. You can install it into, I've got it installed in Claude Code. I've got it installed in Claude Desktop. You can just install wherever you use MCP. And instead of going through and having to install every single different MCP for all these different documentation resources, you can instead say, read the context documentation for Tailwind CSS, read it for Hugo, that's in there as well, read it for React, read it for Next.js. And what's nice about it now is that it now has context on the official docs that have been modified from just crawling the website, but instead they're crawling the underlying source content from those docs, and they're indexing it, and then you're able to go through and to query that data using Context 7. It is completely free, and it goes through and pulls all of that data and keeps it updated so that you can use that in all of your questions. And for all you guys that are Microsoft and gals that are Microsoft 365 developers, you can ask it about, it understands the content for the CLI for Microsoft 365. It understands the CLI for the Agents Toolkit. It understands the agents SDK and toolkit documentation. So why would I install Microsoft's? It understands Azure documentation. It understands the Microsoft Graph documentation. It understands the SharePoint framework. I could go on, but I'm not going to. You get the picture. This thing.
PnP PowerShell, PnP Modern Search, PnP Power Platform, something or other, PnP Core SDK. And as soon as I get a little time later today, PnP JS, damn it.
Right? It's got 31,829 libraries as of right now. And it shows which ones are trending. It shows which ones are.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So it's super easy to install. It works fantastic, and how you can use it. Go look on YouTube about how some people are using it. It's really, really cool. I knew about this in last week's reactor of MCP days from Microsoft. One of the guys had a demo that showed it. It's great. It's fantastic.
This is very cool. This is very, very cool. So I sort of feel like we sort of broke what we said earlier about these documentation, but now this makes more sense to me. So anyway,
it does. So anyway, okay, that's everything I got today. Julie, got anything else you want to share with our listeners?
I do not. I think we killed it.
We did. If you were at the at the TechCon 365 conference in Atlanta, this episode comes out in the middle of the week. Julie and I are there. Come find us. We'd love to talk to you. I think we have a roundtable. I forget what day it is. Hopefully it comes out after the show comes out.
Thursday.
It's on Thursday. There we go. So yeah, if you listen to the show, come join us. We're co-hosting a roundtable on all things dev related.
Yes.
And we also have a little treat for our next episode. We'll be doing our first, not just you and me on the show.
Yeah.
If things go to plan.
Very cool. Exciting. Yeah. Right. You maybe just screwed the pooch, but that's all right.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, we all accepted the invite, so we should be good.
Yeah.
All right. Julie, great to see you. Glad you're back from your vacation. Hope you get some rest from your vacation. And I am looking forward to seeing you in real life in Atlanta next week.
Yeah, sounds great. Can't wait.
Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We're on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. You'll find all the links in the video description below. And if you have a question, head over to our site at codedeploygo.live, where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.